Dimmers, two bats, and of course, crazy people. Is it true? Do older men have more game than younger men? Well, I'm going to go over some information that I've obtained recently that I think proves that point. And I know I'm going to take a little flack on this video, and that's okay. I'm used to it. So if you'd like to hear my spin on it, where I got my information from, the resources that I used, please stay tuned, and we're going to go over that very topic. Are women more attracted to an older man? All right, here comes my goofy video. Well, the inspiration for this video came from all places, a YouTube video. And the title of a video that I ran across said, "Why Women Are Attracted to Older Men." And I said, well, hell, I'm an older man. I want to hear this. So I clicked on it and I listened to the entire video. And the woman that was talking was 20 years psychologist. She had a family practice for couples therapy, and she studied human behavior. And so a master's degree. So I took her as very, very credible and that she knew what she was talking about. And she made three major points as to what women are looking for when they first meet a man and trying to decide if they're attracted to him or not. And we're going to take looks out of the equation for a moment, but we're going to come back to them in a minute. And so I listened to her. I agreed with her. And what really caught my attention was that she said the women were attracted almost unconsciously because it was coming from a primal part of their DNA. It's built into them to look for these traits in a male or a mate, and that they are more frequently found in older and more mature men than younger men, and she went on to explain why. I have also observed similar circumstances, and I have my own little analogies and examples that I can make, and I'm going to make in this video. So, there were three things that she brought up, and I'm going to go over that right now. But I want to qualify this video by saying I didn't just watch her. I watched two other women, same pedigree, same kind of background, and to make a long story short, they pretty much echoed or mirrored the exact same information that this woman was saying. So what was the number one thing that women pick up on this primal level? Kindness. Now, don't confuse kindness with weakness. Two different animals. And how does she pick up on it? Well, yeah, he's going to be nice and kind while he's talking to her because he's putting his best foot forward, right? Wants to impress her. She actually unconsciously will observe how he treats other people. Might be someone that's of a subservient nature, the person that's serving the beverages or the lunch. How does he react and respond to the waiter or the waitress, or I should say the server? Does he say thank you? Is he nice? Does he treat them with respect? If they made a mistake, does he lose his cool? Or does he just say, that's okay, I understand, we'll make it right? A little kid comes into their sphere of influence for the moment. How does he respond to the little kid? Does he make a funny face and act nice to the kid? Or does he try to shoo him away, get him out, get rid of him? And these are all little, and I could go on and on. Does he open the door for a little old lady? All that kind of stuff. Well, she's picking up on that. And kindness is very, very important to females. I can validate that with my own wife. If you're kind to others, it's almost a foregone conclusion that you're going to be kind to her for the long run, because it's just in your nature. You're not a hothead. You're not a guy with a hair trigger, and someone that's just going to fly off the handle. There's been way too many women that have been together with men that come home after work and just unload their day on her. And sometimes it's not so pretty. And so they may have experienced that in the past, and they're very leery and very wary, and for good reason. One of the other things that women are looking for is protection. Now, you would think that the younger guy would take that hands down, right? He's younger, he's more fit. A lot of guys these days are really huge on working out and getting themselves looking pretty and muscle bound and attractive. I commend them. There's nothing wrong with that. But an older man may or not be in that condition, yet has and exercises much more control over it. And an older man, through wisdom, through time, through experience, knows that some battles are best lost in order to win the war. I've listened to MMA fighters speak about this, guys that teach like Taekwondo and self-defense. They have all said the same thing. The best fight that you can have, physical altercation I'm talking about, is the one that you can avoid. If you get into fisticuffs with somebody, everybody loses. Number one, somebody's going to get hurt. That ain't good. And number two, the other person might get in trouble. And number three, everybody might get in trouble. And so it's just an ugly scene. And it shows intellect, it shows intelligence, it shows wit. If you can avoid that, choose or pick your battles. Younger men tend to be more hair trigger. They tend to be have a less ability to exercise impulse control, where an older guy has been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and knows at the end of the day, it just ain't worth it. Let's go ahead and lose the battle because I want to win the war. So they can protect them by using their brain power, their candle power. They can talk their way out of an ugly situation. Of course, there's going to be situations that are unavoidable if you're attacked or something like that. But I'm talking about everyday life and interacting with other people. The third thing that they're looking for in a man is someone who can provide. That does not necessarily mean that your pockets are bulging with $100 bills, or that you've got a red Ferrari parked out front, and that you're wearing all kinds of bling and gold and this and that. I can attest that as a younger man, I thought that was the way to a woman's heart. And I can attest that a lot of men in their 20s, 30s, even into their 40s, starts to dissipate in the 40s, but we'll say 20s and 30s, think that's it. I'm the big man on campus. I got all this stuff. And that sends a signal to the female that this guy is probably all show and no dough. Where an older gentleman, someone more mature, has already established himself. He is where he's going to be. And if he's comfortable financially, and he can provide shelter, he can provide food, he can provide comfort, he's kind, he doesn't fly off the handle, that simply makes him more and more attractive to her. When a man is sitting across from a beautiful woman, we are very, very visual. And a younger guy, the minute he sits across from a very beautiful woman, it's almost a knee-jerk reaction for him to say to her, "Boy, you are gorgeous. You're one of the most beautiful women I have ever met." And he thinks he's really scoring points. Problem with that is, a beautiful woman knows she's beautiful. She's been getting told that ever since she was little. And so she knows her value, and she knows that she has this physical advantage, I guess you could say, with her beauty. Could be face, figure, hair, whatever, combination of all three, four. And so this guy, by saying, boy, you're beautiful, he kind of loses not necessarily respect, but he sounds just like everybody else. And now, do you really want to sound like anybody else? An older guy will know that a beautiful woman has heard that over and over again. So he will choose his words when he wants to pay her a compliment. Let's just say that they've been chatting for a while and she makes some sort of point. His response will most likely be along the line of, you know what? I can see that you've given that a lot of thought. I'd like to hear more about that. Doesn't mention a thing about her looks, doesn't mention a thing about how pretty she is. And what's he doing? He's simply saying, I've listened to you, I've heard you, I've found you to be interesting, and I want to hear more about you. There's something that usually comes out of left field to a woman that's, been relying on her looks. Speaking of that, looks, we said we'd come back to that, right? Women are naturally attracted to men that are young and fit and muscle-bound, perfect hair, perfect chiseled looks, all that stuff. However, they're also very aware that there's a high degree of competition for that person. They're also aware that when someone is strikingly good looking, handsome, debonair, all that happy stuff, that they're aware of their value. And they are much more likely to be less stable in the relationship. They're guys that they know they can better deal her no matter how pretty she is, or they have their selection of women. Where an older man who may have the dad bod and the thinning hairline and the wrinkles and the creases, they're also aware of that, and yet they've grown comfortable within it. And they have a take it or leave it type of attitude. They can't change it. Why try to work at something you can't change? Either the woman's going to accept it or she's not. Another thing that older men possess is an I don't really care attitude. And I can truly attest to that. After going through a number of relationships on my own and others that I've met. I have a friend who once said, I don't trust any man who hasn't been divorced twice. Means he knows that guy has gone through the pain and suffering and now is that much wiser. So, if you actually have an I don't care attitude, it disarms the woman and is actually attractive to her. She knows that you're interested in her for her inner qualities and what she brings to the table as far as communication, how kind is she, and how is she going to treat you in the long run. Anybody can have a good time for a couple of nights or a couple of weeks, but honeymoons tend to get over with quick. And if it's all based on a physical dynamic, well, that's all well and good. But for the long term, if that's all it's based on, I see no future in it. So, older men also, this is what one of the other psychologists that I listened to brought up, that the other three didn't. She said as men grow older, and this was very interesting, they have less interest in sex. And that doesn't mean a guy like me who's almost 70. That means guys that are hitting their 40s and their 50s. Life has a way of taking a toll on you. And especially in your 40s and your 50s. You're busy with your career. You're busy making a buck. you're busy trying to get that house and these possessions and all these things that you think are so important. And so less and less and less men are thinking sometimes about relationships. A lot of men are perfectly fine just being alone. I've always been fine being alone. It's never been a necessity for me. And I think that gave me an advantage. You know, when I came to the Philippines, my primary driver was not to meet a female. In fact, quite the opposite. I had already decided I didn't want any more part of it. Other guys have come over here, and that's their only motivation to come here. I have found that the guys that come over here and are really, really, really trying to meet a woman, and I know 4 guys personally that are in their 40s, work out daily, are good looking, and they got no game. They can't meet anybody. They're having a tough time. It's because they're still trying to sort out their priorities. They're still trying to figure out who they are and where they want to go and where they want to end up. Nothing wrong with them. They're not mean or nasty, but that's just a sense of instability that I think women pick up on that age category. Now, that being said, a man that's older has already got his life going. If he's no longer being swayed by sex, because that's not a primary driver anymore, it actually takes away some of the power. There's a power shift from the woman to the man. And if she knows that, that's something that she can no longer use. She's aware of it, and she can no longer weaponize it. Again, it makes the man more challenging. That is powerful. I'm at the stage, and a lot of men are at the stage, where it comes to sex, we can kind of take it or leave it. You know, when we were in our 30s, the only thing we could think about was squeezing the hooters. It came across our minds persistently. Now it's like, well, we've squeezed our share of hooters. And it was all well and good. But, okay, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Is it a priority? No. We're more interested in just being comfortable. I've had friends that used to just be hound dogs when it came to ladies. And now they're at an advanced age, and they just want to be comfortable. They just want to be able to be air conditioned. They want to enjoy a good meal. If a woman comes into their life and she's amicable and she's amenable and she's someone that's compatible, great. They'd love to have her go along with the rest of the ride with them. But if not, they could take it or leave it. They don't need the physical interaction any longer. I could go on with other examples, but I'd be curious as to what you think about this. There is that primal instinct that we all carry in us, men and women. But with the women, they're looking for someone who's kind. They're looking for someone who can protect. And they're looking for someone who can provide. I'd be very curious as to whether you disagree, agree, or have something else that you'd like to add to that. All right, kids, I'll see you in the next video.